could be frank, they could be open, and they could just say what's on their minds to help, improve our lives as young professionals living here in Miami and our lives as people of color living here in Miami. So the event took on a life of its own, and we've had ambassadors, we've had presidents, we've had entertainers and artists, photographers, and people from all types, all walks of life just come share their story with us and sort of give us a little insight into what they're doing to help the community move forward and sort of help us figure out what we're going to do next to move this community forward. So I thank you for being here to be part of this conversation. I thank you for giving our very own Uncle Luke some love today and coming to listen to him. And it's an intimate crowd, as you can see. I invite people to come closer because he will be on stage, and we want this to be a conversation, not a monologue. We don't want him just talking to you, but we want to be able to have that exchange to learn from some of the great things he's done, to learn from some of the mistakes he's made, and to move our community forward together as a family. So I have the honor of introducing the executive director of the Black Professionals Network, Kanasha Paul. I sit on the Black Professionals Network's board, and she's doing an awesome job. Some of you may have attended the conference. We invite many of you to become members. Kanasha's going to tell you a little bit about BPN and how it's serving the community. And then we will invite Uncle Luke to come and start our conversation. We did have a short video presentation for you, but we'll have that after the conversation. It might sort of close out things a little bit better anyway. Ms. Kanasha Paul.
Hey, everyone. So first of all, I want everyone to give a round of applause to Sandy and Terry, because these events are not easy to do. They are a labor of love. Being able to kind of bring some of the talent that you're going to see, not only today with Uncle Luke, but moving forward, is really going to shift our community forward. And that's why I'm so proud to be one of the partners on a conversation with. Black Professionals Network is an organization based in Miami, Florida. We serve emerging Black professionals in South Florida by providing them access, resource, and opportunities in order for them to engage with other Black professionals and to leverage their network, because we understand the value and importance of social capital, and then building with each other to kind of make sure that while we're getting this wealth of knowledge, that we're able to put it in actionable steps. So to be part of Black Professionals Network, you can visit us on our website and get more information at www.mybpnetwork.org, or you can follow us on all our social media platforms at mybpnetwork.org as well, MyBP Network. So I don't want to hold up the conversation too long because I'm pretty sure Uncle Luke has a whole lot to say. And even also my little quick connection with Uncle Luke, when I was in law school, it was definitely interesting to know that one of the cases that we had to go over was the First Amendment case with Uncle Luke, and actually my professor was his lawyer on that case. So Professor Bruce Rogo was one of his lawyers who had argued that First Amendment case in the Supreme Court. So it was be able to kind of get that connection and hearing that in school about how these, where they were trying at a time characterize them as thugs and vulgar and this, and how they changed the game of hip hop and the music industry all the way in the Supreme Court. So without further ado, let's give it up for Uncle Luther Campbell. I thought that was anticlimactic because he didn't come out. Oh, let's say, DJ, you gonna play the anthem? Because maybe that's gonna warm him up a little bit more. That sounds more like it. All right, so follow me. Okay, right now we're gonna have Uncle Luke Farley, right?
Luther Campbell.
Hi. I don't know what to do with the other mic. Sandy walked away.
Go ahead, you can talk on it, then give it to me.
This is part of the script, Sandy. All right, actually, you missed the part where I was telling them about kind of like the connection I had with you. My professor, Bruce Rogo, he was, when I was in law school, he was, yeah, so when I was in law school, it was really interesting to be like in class of I think it was civil procedure, and hear all about your case that like really changed, and being from a Miami native, so kind of being able to like have that perspective, especially in an all-white class practically, it was definitely interesting. So, I think that you can tell the story better. Like, how was that experience of being a young rapper taking up the Supreme Court?
Oh man, good evening, first of all. Everybody, happy to be here. You know, I came here one time before, but I think it was when Sweet Mickey was here, when he was president at the time. And I'm just happy to be here and to be able to have good conversation with y'all. But to answer the question, going all the way to the Supreme Court, I mean, that was a challenge. You know, along the way, I mean, if you know anything about the Supreme Court, you don't necessarily have to. You know, it's not like a criminal case where you have to go to court. It's a choice. It's a choice whether or not you want to fight. You know. And continue fighting, because at any point you can stop fighting when it's going to the Supreme Court, and you can just give up. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, my mom never taught me to give up on anything. If I believed in it, you know, it was important to fight for it. And you know, I thought at the time, you know, us as African Americans, especially hip hop artists, we were under attack, because you know, at that time, Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, had a list of hip hop artists, you know, from Ice-T to Ice Cube to NWA and all that's on the list. And on that list, we were a list of guys, along with some heavy metal and rock and roll groups. You know, and her husband, being a Senator Gore, eventually ended up becoming Vice President Gore. You know, I thought at the time, you know, was it that hip hop and whether free speech applies to African Americans? Because, you know, if you look at, you know, any history books, most history books, you know, consider us as half man. And at that time, I was like, no, we're under attack. This is much bigger than just hip hop. It's more about whether or not free speech applies to African Americans, because, you know, when you looked at things that was going on at that time, you had Andrew Dice Clay saying what he was saying on the comedy record.
Yes.
You had different examples of people, you know, in their and the things that they were doing, whether it was, you know, explicit lyrics or not. So I felt like it was real important to fight that fight, you know, and fight it all the way to the Supreme Court. You know, we won, you know, and that was a good thing, and I'm proud about that.
I think one of the most important things that you said was that it was intentional. You didn't have to do it. I think a lot of us who sort of went through that process with you from afar felt like, oh, you know, he had to go through this case. He had to be on television. But you didn't have to do that. You could have sat in your living room and just sort of watched the whole process unfold and not really be actively involved with it and not confront what was happening immediately. So I think that's really important for the community to know that you took on this fight. You didn't just, you know, it didn't just happen to you, but you faced this fight head on.
Yeah, I mean, an important part of it was a couple of different cases going on there at the time. You know, it was the parody case, which was the case that went to the Supreme Court, whether or not, you know, parody was protected by the First Amendment, and then the other case was my album was deemed obscene by federal judge Gonzalez in Broward County. So I had two cases going on at the same time. You know, the main case that was more important than hip hop. You know, the parody case was more important to satire, to Saturday Night Live and comedians, whether or not they can imitate other comedians and things like that. And it was important because it was a free speech case. But then, as far as when it comes to hip hop and what would have changed hip hop, I could have, again, you know, we lost the original case when the records was taken off the shelf in Broward County. We went back, got an appeal. We got that case overturned on appeal, and we won that case. Now, if we didn't, and if I did not take that fight on again, I could have just let the record be, you know, considered obscene, but then that would have been case law, and they could have used that case law against any record with explicit lyrics on it right now today, you know, and that pretty much, you know, that was more free speech and more in line with what kids are doing and what artists are being able to do right now today. And, you know, that was really, really important. But before I go, like I said, the Honorable Mayor, Honorable Gilbert is here. Thank you, sir, for being here. Remind me of this man. Yes.
Thank you so much. So remember, this is a conversation, so everyone, we're asking you to engage Luther in conversation and ask those questions that you feel will help you move forward as an individual and us as a community. I'll ask you this question. So here it is, you're a young man in your 20s at the time. You win against the Supreme Court. You got a pocket full of money. Most beautiful girls in Miami are walking around after you. And you decide to stay home. Why?
Well, I thought it was important because the dream is, okay, I'm gonna, you know, be successful, whether it's music or whatever I may do, and then I'm gonna move to Hollywood. You know, I'm gonna move to New York because most of the time, most big businesses in New York. You know, if you were a hip hop artist, if you're in the movies or fashion, you're gonna leave Miami. Most of the time, most people have a tendency of thinking, okay, this is where the big bucks at. I got an opportunity to leave, but I always thought it was important to stay. Because I saw so many people, so many bright minds of people leaving. Like right now, a lot of kids go to college.
They call it the brain drain.
Exactly, and they'll leave and they'll go to other places. And then when you look, whether it's in government or whether you look, you know, in the workplace here, and it's like, are you from here? And they say, no, I'm from Detroit. I'm from Chicago. And then you'll find out, and then you have a conversation with other people, and then, well, where's your daughter? I know she went to Harvard, but where is she at? Oh, she's working in New York. She's working in somewhere else. So I always thought it was important for me to be able to show other kids and other adults that you can start your own business right here in Miami, you know, and be successful, you know, and that's why I was all about starting hip hop in the South. I mean, when I started hip hop in the South, there was no other hip hop, nothing else going on, you know, period. You know, and so again, that was I had the opportunities to move to New York. I had the opportunities to move to California. But when I looked at it, and then it was, you know, when you start a company, then you got to look for good talent. You got to look for good talented people to be able to come work for you. So at the time, being that this was not a music town, you couldn't find a good record promotional person. You couldn't find a good, you know, you found some good engineers and things like that because a lot of people can't record, but you couldn't find different people that would be able to, you know, make up a record company. So what I did was, you know, I just leaned on young people that was around. You know, like a friend of mine who works for the NBA, he just flew in today, Jeff Sanchez. I mean, he was a young kid, you know, came, worked for the company. Another kid, y'all probably know him, Teach, you know, he owns House of Mac, the House of Mac truck. He, you know, just came down from New York, eager to work, you know, and eager to get involved in something. He didn't know what he wanted to do, you know, and so eventually I ended up, you know, bringing him into the company and taught him the record business from that side. I mean, and it goes on, the list goes on. I mean, you had, you know, guys like JT Money. You was like, okay, wow, where did JT Money come from? Well, JT Money was a Viking, yes, sir. Yes, any Viking, the mayor's gonna remind me. So I mean, you know, you look at guys like him, JT Money, he was a kid that was on the streets. He was robbing and stealing and doing everything else you name to mankind. But then you see a kid like him, and if I'm in New York with a record company, when I had the opportunity, when Doug Morris and Tooch Aaron and it was me and it was Craig Coleman and Jimmy Iovine sitting on the couch of
You said a lot of names, and I think yours was the only one of a person of color, right? Out of all the names,
yes. All three of us sitting on the couch. It was me, and Jimmy Iovine runs Interscope, and it was Craig Coleman who runs Atlantic Records right now. And all of us, we were successful doing our own independent thing. And then these were the next guys to come, and these were the next guys to run the record industry for years. And right now, those two guys are still running the industry. And I just told them right then, I said, look, I'm not gonna move. I'm gonna stay here, because if I don't stay here, I don't be able to discover the JT Moneys of the world. I'm not able to discover people like Pitbull, another kid, going a different direction in life. I mean, he's in Opalaka. You see a picture of him back then, you see braids down his head and him selling every ounce of anything that he could sell at that time. But again, it was an opportunity to be able to tell those young men, that you got a gift. And I always felt like if I wasn't here, I couldn't have saved a Pitbull life. I couldn't have saved a Trick Daddy when he comes out of jail and his dad is incarcerated at the same time, and he calls me up and say, look, my son is coming out of jail. He has some lyrics, and 9 times out of 10, when you have lyrics, then you can't rap. And he comes out and he actually ends up staying with me. And that's when I discovered he knows how to cook. So he came and said that statement. I didn't know what his career was going to be, and I ended up putting him on the record Scarred. And his career blossomed and blew up, and he became successful. So, I mean, that's why I love the fact that, you're able to stay here and you're able to save lives, whether it's on the football field or whether it's in the music business, and you're able to, that's what makes me real proud when I see the people like Jeff, and I see Cool and Dre, who worked at the studio, and I see Pitt do his thing, and I see Trick doing his thing, and the guys, whether H-Town or anywhere else, and Nikki, who came down, from DC, not knowing what she wanted to do over here. She's been with me for over 20 years, and look at her cousin, Mike Gardner, and he runs Live nightclub on Sunday night, and we remember him being the basketball player at UM that got in trouble every week, got kicked off the team every week, and to see him, blossom and see all these guys, and wife, she had the same professor you had at Nova, and to see her blossom in her business as well, it just, I'm happy to be able to stay here and just help lives.
So you're here, you're saving lives individually. How do you see that translating in a change in your community now? Because we see the individual successes. It's so, the bling is loud and beautiful, but sometimes we don't see the trickle down effect.
Right.
So how do you see that? How do you think we can change that? Or do you think it is happening and maybe it's just not happening as fast as we wanted?
Well, I think it's real important to create a circle. You know what I'm saying? I think it's really important to create a circle of good people around you. And that's what I'm blessed to have a circle of good people around me. And you have an inner circle, you have an outer circle. I know I can call on Jeff for anything. I know I can call on the mayor for anything. I know I can call on my wife. I can call on Nikki. I can call on different people within the circle. You know what I'm saying? And not often are we able to call on people, because my daddy always told me, if you find 2 friends in this lifetime, then that's better than anything that you will ever be able to find. So I went about, my life and being able to say, look, I got to create a circle of people, and everybody don't do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody does different things. And how you stay in the circle is based on loyalty. If you're not loyal, then you out of the circle. So, for instance, if I have a friend that's in the circle and in the circle, then that's not productive.
So I have to say, you just made my sponsor for tonight the happiest man ever. Evan St. Fort of St. Fort Funeral Homes.
See, he's in the circle. He's in your
He's
circle.
in my circle, and you just made his day. So
Exactly.
thank you.
And again, he's in your circle, and that makes it important because you can call on him. You know, you can call on him and say, I really been, and he's right there for you. So those kind of relationships you got to cherish. You know, and unfortunately, the circles are not going to be big. They're going to be small, and we need to be able to gravitate to those people like, you know, Tangela Sears. I can call on her anything. I mean, there's things I don't know when it comes to politics. And I can have a conversation with her, you know, about politics. I can have a conversation with my wife about law. I can have a conversation with Nikki, or anybody, or Jeff, or anybody, you know, within the actual circle. If I need to go to a club and go hang out and just, you know, mind my own business, I can call on Mike. You know what I'm saying? But then it comes to the business part of it all. You know, in business, it becomes, that's the most important part of it. Because if our circle grows, if everybody within the circle can grow and you can help them grow, then that makes you a powerful people. And if we could ever do that within this community, you know what I'm saying, and make this community grow and stop, you know, it's so much of, if you got this, I want to prevent you from having this. And so those kind of people, I can't put in my circle. You know, and I hope to be a good circle person for them. You know, it's important to be able to want to help that person grow. You know, and if you're around me, if I can't just have you hanging around me. You know what I'm saying? Just okay, I'm always buying you drinks. At some point, I want you to be able to buy people in your circle a drink and everybody else a drink. You know, we have a tendency of wanting to keep the woman down. You know, men, we just want the woman back here. You know, we want you to be dependent on us as a man. No. Build that woman up. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm always supporting my wife in any endeavor that she's involved in. I hope other people see that. You know, so I might put it on social media that, yeah, my wife owns 3 Wingstops. And then I go, what is bragging for? I'm hoping to inspire another man. You know, with that. Because I don't have to say nothing about it. I'm hoping to inspire another man to be able to say, look, let me build my wife up. Because if I build my wife up, then I build my family up. You know what I'm saying? And then I help these young ladies to see positive role models and they want to be like. So to me, it's about that tight-knit circle and the loyalty in it. You know, I got to tell you a story about, you know, kid, Devontae Freeman. Everybody know him. I mean, we know him from a kid played in the Super Bowl. And that kid there, he had every agent in the world running after him. You know, every one of them running after him, everybody offering him money, offering his friends money, you know, trying to pay him off. But what he said was, hey, look, I want Auntie Chris, she's a lawyer, why she can't represent me? You know what I'm saying? You know, she did some work with some other clients and things and helped them out. But he said, I want her, which is my wife, I want her to represent me because why am I going to make somebody else rich and where we have the intelligence? And now this is a young black man, you know, straight out of the Pork Bean Projects. You know, you thinking that he don't know what I wanna build something with her, and then you have the Duke Johnsons, and then on top of it, but then at the same time you have the Duke Johnsons and you have them and this is a good story for people. They want to be represented by her. But then you have a whole bunch of people in the community saying to the other kids, and again, this is where the circle comes in and, oh, I ain't making Luke them rich. Meanwhile, they don't really know I don't get a dime from this. But then they'll go hire a white guy on Star Island and make him rich. You know what I'm saying? This is what we do. This is what we do as people. But meanwhile, you don't see him, we ain't going nowhere. You follow what I'm saying? But these kids here, these same kids here, they get the opportunity to be represented. But like we always say, support black businesses. They get the opportunity to be represented by a black woman, you know what I'm saying, who's going to inspire their sister and their wife, their daughter, and so on, and it makes the circle much more powerful and stronger. So I say that to say that you have the negatives and you have the positive, but then again, you have a kid from South Carolina, all the way from South Carolina. I'm using this story here for example because we fall into this trick. In plays at Florida State, Arden Tate, one of the top picks that'll be in this draft this year. And his mother and dad, you know, dad's a pastor in Tampa. Dad's a pastor in Tampa. And they're from, you know, he goes from different churches, but they're originally from South Carolina. And they see the award show on TV, and they see she just negotiated Devontae Freeman's contract and made him the highest paid running back in the NFL, something that the white guys told Devontae she couldn't do. And at the end of the day, these people from South Carolina come all the way to Miami and knock on the door. No, the mother, I want this black woman to represent my son. I got all these white people coming in my house. Wow. I want her to represent, you know, and to me, it becomes deep. It becomes deep because we're our worst enemy when it comes to us. You know, if we ever decide that we want to enrich ourselves and enrich our kids and leave a legacy, then we'll work with each other. We'll all create big circles, and then at some period we'll be able to win. Because when I look at this community right here. I look at Sable Palms. Anybody know what Sable Palms is? Yeah. Okay, that was Sable Palms. Sable Palms was Lil Haiti version of the Pokemon Projects, right? Yeah. Right now it costs $2,500 to stay in a house in Sable Palm. And I guarantee you ain't none of us in this room own a place in Sable Palms. So again, how did that happen? That didn't happen. Those things happen because we allow those things to happen. The same thing with Pokemon Projects. Yeah. We sit here today and we say, oh, they're shooting and they're killing and everybody is dying in the Pokemon Projects, and at the same time, you know what's going to end up happening? Pokemon Projects is going to be Sable Palms. And the people of Pokemon Projects is going to end up somewhere down south in Homestead. And then when they get tired of that, you know, so it's all about this. It's all a big game. So then you ask me, why do I stay here? I stay here to try to fight those kind of fights. They help my people. And I try to stay and inspire people, but at the same time, you know, we have some good people fighting. We do. It's a lot better than what it is. That's why, you know, my man Oliver Gilbert, I love what he do. I love what Commissioner Hardeman does. You know, but we need more.
So now you bring up two of our more prominent African American politicians, and I know for years people have been trying to drag you into that arena. Is that something that you have ever given serious consideration to? And if not, why not?
No. No, I like to be the man behind the dark curtain. You know, I think, no, let me tell you, people ask me, you know, when I ran for office, when I ran for mayor, you know, it was a thing that I was doing. I know, you know, it was somewhat impossible to win, but what I wanted to do was create a constituency. I just wanted to create a group and a block of voters that can support other good candidates. Mm-hmm. So they were like, oh, why are you running for mayor? You can't win, it's impossible. But what we did was you had a lot of
circle bigger.
Exactly, made the circle bigger. So what basically, you had Obama had ran, President Obama, he had won. So you had a lot of young people with voters registration cards that voted for the first time. You see them coming out in droves. Everybody voted because, you know, hey, look, we got a black president. We getting out, we're going to get a card. And all those people had those cards, but then after President Obama won, nobody had nothing to do with the card.
They weren't engaged.
It wasn't engaged. It wasn't nobody that they could relate to. So I said, okay, you know, here in Miami, what I got to do, let me run. I'm going to run for mayor. I'm going to engage that audience. So then at the same time, when it's a good guy like a Keon Hardeman or somebody that's getting ready to run, some good person that wants to run, that's doing the right thing, then I could then lend my support to them. So then what I do is people wonder why I write in the New Times. I use New Times as my newsletter. See, I use the white people. I use that as a newsletter to be able to talk to the group of people that I feel that is listening, you know, because what I did with New Times, I used them as, you know, as a platform to get my platform out at the time, and so I communicate through that some of the issues, and I go hard on a lot of people at the same time. But again, I don't get no money from that because I say you can't give me any money to be able to educate my people. You know, and so that's why that's so important. So, you know, that's the reason why. And I like being behind the curtain. I think personally, I think lawmakers need to be lawyers because we've had a lot of elected officials that they, you know, that you'll see them and then you'll go and you see the Cuban guy back there, he's reading the documents. You know what I'm saying? Now you got a lawyer telling you, you know, interpreting what you need to be, you know. So I think, you know, that's why ain't nobody can trick Oliver. Ain't nobody can trick Keon. You know what I'm saying? You go, it's like poetry in motion. You go to one of them meetings, it's like, yeah, okay, we're here. You know, so I love that. So I think that is, you know, it's very, very important not to have a joker because we do have a joker right now as a president, so I don't need to be up in there, you know, test driving, you know, everybody's lives. I can be able to have a conversation with people about some of the issues.
So we watched you. You took on the music industry head on, successful. Took on the business industry, successful. You're making things happen in the community successfully. And then now you're a football coach. How did that evolve? How did that happen?
Let me tell you, I mean, when me and Sam started Liberty City Optimists over 30 years ago, God bless his soul, you know, and we're still there today right now. You know, we saved so many lives. I mean, so many kids came through the program, you know, that went on and became successful, whether or not they made it to the NFL, and some of the young ladies who, whether it were cheerleaders or not, you know, that became good mothers and went to college and did some of the good things. And so we stood up one day, and, you know, I always say when my career dies down, where I could be able to go out and coach football, because that's my passion, that I'll go back to the program, start coaching. So I started coaching these group of kids, you know, and I loved it. And as I'm coaching, I'm sitting out there, the ones that left the program, you know, you hear about, you know, Bobo got shot, Momo just robbed somebody, and you're like, why? He was in the program from 4 years old to 15 years old. That can't be the same kid that we're talking about. So we didn't say we decided that we're going to extend the program to high school because we know the kids. I mean, like we'll send a kid from Liberty City Optimist to Crop Senior High. That coach has no idea who that kid is, you know, but we know him. We know him because he's been with us from 4 years old to 15 years old. So that's, you know, a lot of years. Mm-hmm. And so I just felt like the program needed to extend itself. So I extended myself. You know, I went to Central, and we had another coach to go to. We had another coach to go to Northwestern. We had another coach to go to Jackson. You know, within the area of those kids, and we were able to save some of those kids' lives. And then at the same time, every year, at the end of the year, we would take out the group of kids that came out of our program and every other kid, and then we'll take them on college tours. Because I felt like, you know, when my mom sent me to DC to stay with my brother, it was more like, you know, because I was a bad kid. I'm not gonna lie, I was a tough guy running around the streets of Liberty City. She shipped me out there, and I saw black people doing things. And that kind of inspired me. When I got back home, it was a no-brainer for me. I knew black people were able to do things. So we take these kids every year on a college tour, and now a lot of other schools do it, which is good, to show them a different side of life. And when they come back, they know what they want to do, you know, and that's why I love it. You know, and there's another opportunity to be able to take some of these young men, as well as young ladies, and be able to, you know, everybody's not going to University of Miami, and I explained to them that, you know, but then you can go to Howard. You know, I got three or four kids going to Howard. I got, you know, we just sent, you know, see what I'm saying? Exactly. We just sent, you know, 3 kids to, you know, when I was coaching at Miami Northern last 4 years. See, there you go.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, so we said, I mean, we said a couple kids to FAMU out on stage. You know what I'm saying? So, see, there you go. See on stage. So again, when you coaching, I mean, people think, oh yeah, you're going out there to coach. I mean, the supplement really is $800. You know, the coach for an entire year, so that adds up to be about 3 cents a day. So it's nothing, you know, unlike other states. So you're out there coaching, but at the same time, we'll sit back and we'll send 10 kids to college. You know, we'll look at those 10 kids going to college and we'll say, what's the tuition at each one of those universities for 4 years? And then it gets into the millions. And then that's when you're saying, oh, we're really doing something right now. You know what I'm saying? And you know, now some of these parents who we know can't afford to send their kids to college, now they got a free education. You know, and it ain't just about going to Florida, Auburn, any place like that. You're gonna go somewhere. So we tell parents that your child is gonna go somewhere because it takes that as a coach. So that's why, you know, some of the coaches, you know, that are doing that, you know, I love them for that, and anytime it's, you know, to lean on any one of them, you know, we talk about that. We talk about giving these kids a different opportunity. Then you have the girls who are trainers, you know, the girls that are trainers who love being trainers and they're being taught by the trainer, and we help them get in college. In some situations, we'll tell, you know, big time college, hey, look, you gotta take her too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you want him, but you gotta take her
gets
too.
left behind.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you know, that's why I love coaching, because, you know, you can give back, but you can get $1,000 here, you can get $500 here, but if you can help a kid get a $250,000 tuition scholarship, you know what I'm saying? And he might not make it to the NFL, but he'll come back. You know, he'll come back with a degree in something, and he can be able to apply that degree and be able to live a productive life.
Wow. Do we have any questions in the audience? Ton, I'm sure. Okay, so I'm gonna come around.
Ask whatever question.
Hi, Mr. Campbell.
Hello, hi.
So I was a pre-teenager when Two Life Crew emerged, and that group completely revolutionized the way that I looked at sexuality. And I know at the time they were being attacked for being misogynistic and vulgar and obscene, but what I found more obscene were these white interpretations of sexuality, which you saw on like white drama series like Dynasty and Falcon Crest and those type of shows that you used to see in the evening. And you know, as a black girl going to private school, one of the only black girls, it was confusing because on the other hand, it wasn't organic. Their interpretations of sexuality didn't feel organic to me, but then I was being told that I had to identify with that. So then suddenly this rap group emerges and they start to vandalize the white interpretation of sexuality, and I'm driving my immigrant parents crazy. So my question to you is, when you see artists like Nicki Minaj and Rihanna reinterpreting female empowerment and black feminism in the form of this very assertive sexuality, how do you feel about that?
Well, I feel good about it, to be honest with you. I feel great about it. And I'll give you a reason why. Because it's, you know, it is a story behind the story. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. Day one. Love the Cowboys. Yeah, love the Cowboys. But the backstory to it all was everybody loved the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders because they had Daisy Dukes on when everybody else had you know, regular cheerleader outfits on way back then. You know, you might be too young to know that. So, you know, and every commercial that you saw on a football game was Budweiser Light, and they had the white girls in bikinis in the snow, in something, you know. So I looked at that and I said, you know what? If I take just that approach, I do this 2 Live Crew music, you know, we'll change the music. You know, we're not gonna be like the guys in New York. We'll change the album colors and covers, and we'll put black girls instead of the white girls in the same outfit. And I'm gonna do the videos the same way they do the commercials. So I did all that. So this is the backstory of it all. But I got attacked. You know what I'm saying? I got attacked from all different directions. So when it came to the music, it was okay. Leroy Skillet, Unester, Millie Jackson, Dolomite, all these guys were on white. All these guys and girls were using the same lyrics, but they were on record labels that was owned by white guys. The visuals, again, the visuals that I took from these commercials and used them as my visuals, my album cover. Okay, the girl's gonna be standing on the beach, and we're gonna be laying down in the sand. Oh, how dare them have the girls on the beach? I'm like, and so when the argument came, and I ended up on Phil Donahue and any other show, when that argument became an argument, then I was like, well, I always referred to those things that they were already doing in society. And the same argument, that was used, the same argument that we used when it became whether or not our music was sexually explicit to win our case was a case what they would call, was a test that they used to win the case that my lawyer used. And I'm pretty sure you heard the Miller test 1,000 times in Bruce Rogo's class. And that test was, what is in society? It's the same thing in society. So I ended up eventually winning all those cases because the test was already there. It was already, these things already existed. So when I look at Rihanna, and that was my thing because, I started this little beach party that Oliver used to go to called Splashdown when he was young. And Ted used to be out there with her little outfit on. But when back those days before I started music, because I'm a DJ right now, and all the black girls used to be all dressed up at the beach. They had the towel all the way up here. Ain't nobody show no bikini, nothing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was toweled up. Unlike right now, I think, sometimes we go on Memorial Day weekend, some of us, the outfit's get a little too wild. I was like, did I create that? Like, okay, you need to come that up. But again, nobody showed their body. No black women during those times, they were scared of their sexuality, they were scared of that beautiful body. And I'm gonna tell you right now, them white girls was happy they weren't showing that body, because when they started showing that body, them white boys started coming after them black girls hard. At the same time. So, when I look at it, I'm just I looked at it from that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about, okay, when you look at a black woman, that's a work of art. You know what I'm saying? You look at
I agree.
Right. And they coming off, and they coming black women coming off favorites. The hair color just don't change. You know what I'm saying? They come in light, they come in all different flavors. That's the difference between, so I always say, well, once they show this beautiful black woman, it's gonna be something else. And it is, y'all just done took over the world.
Well, thank you for liberating us.
Thank you. No, I didn't do it, y'all did it yourself.
Hello, Mr. Campbell. You definitely followed me my whole life. My name is Sheila. So whenever I say my name, somebody always busts out with, "Oh, Sheila," my whole life. But so I was always aware of you. I am also an artist, performing artist, and also a recording artist. One thing that I wanted to ask you was, what was the hardest lesson that you had to learn in this industry when it comes to business? And it's a two-part question. What is the best thing that you've done and you would tell other inspiring artists to do? So the lesson and the blessing.
The lesson and the blessing. I think the hardest part about the business is the hardest part about the business when you're a creative person, and you're the artist. You can't be the artist and everything else. You have to kind of lean on other people to do their job. Sometimes the artists want to do everything. Like I talk to young people all the time, and they'll tell you, "Oh, I do the video, I do this, I do that, I do this. I'm doing the marketing, I'm doing everything." You can't do everything. If you're an artist, and most artists, all of us are somewhat crazy in a sense. We're weird. I mean, I'm telling you. And so at the same time, the best creative people and the smartest ones, they'll know that, hey, look, there needs to be the art designer. There needs to be a marketing person. There needs to be, the radio promotional person. There needs to be a mix show person. There needs to be a street marketing person. And the funny part about it, they're all the way around you already. They're already in your life already. Because I will speak at a jailhouse and create a record company right in a jailhouse. Like I'll tell kids, hey, look, who's the best art? Who can draw? And the kid, everybody point to him. Oh, he draws real good. Then I say, who can rap? And they'll point to him. And then I'll be like, who's the person that can? If I make a record about, if I make a record about dancing, what should I take the record? Put your hand up there and say, oh no, you should take the record to the club. Okay, you're the promotional person. You know what I'm saying? Because you know that. So again, I think that's the most important part of it. The negatives are, unfortunately, the negatives are you have to trust certain people, and that's the tough part because I know I trust a lot of people that stole a lot of money from me, and I thought I was doing it the right way. I'm just trusting people, and thinking I'm making the right moves and putting faith in individuals. That's something you just, that's just the devil working. So you can't get away with that. As long as you're doing the right thing as far as, the direction that you're trying to go in, and working with people around you and people who believe in you, that'd be great. And when you let somebody listen to your music, don't sing the song. Just let them listen to the music. Let them listen to the music and then try to give me your honest opinion. Will you buy this? And unfortunately, your friends gonna keep it 100 with you, and they'll tell you, oh no, but don't stop. Don't stop at that point there and say, look, this is something that I don't think I can do. If you believe in it, just keep on going, keep on plugging away. I mean, like for us, we're transforming into the film industry. We're trying to be film. I wish I could do a lot of it here, so eventually that'll be our next fight because I think us as black people in Miami, and I look at Atlanta and the black folks in Atlanta, they make a lot of money, but they don't even have what we have here. And if we can ever, that'd be my next fight, and I just hope y'all travel with us because every individual in this room right here, that's the bread and butter for us, I think. I think if we make South Florida, and we make Florida a film industry, and we own it, not lean on somebody else, if we do the same thing that they do in Atlanta, and working hard to get those tax breaks, to be able to be able to get more moonlight shot down here because it's really difficult. And so with us, like I say, we're moving into the film part of the business. Like we got a film coming out on Stars with LeBron James and his company, based on my youth program. It's a 6-series documentary that'll be out in September. Then thank you. And we also, sometime next year, we'll start shooting the movie that I have a deal with Lionsgate, and then we have a couple other projects. But with those projects, we're able to add music to those projects. We're able to add merchandise and product placement in those projects. But at the same time, when you're doing those budgets, it's difficult to shoot in your own hometown. I want to shoot everything here. I want to put these people to work. I want to put these kids to work who are inspired artists and who want to be here. And that's why people say, well, why does Barry Jenkins don't come back here and do more? You know, Barry, unfortunately, the industry in Florida does not allow him to be able to come back here to do more work because the tax credits are in Georgia, the tax credits are in California, New York, and everywhere else. You know, and I think that is our next. I think we as African Americans, if we take control of that film and we push that, then we can end at the same time. You know, we don't have to, we can own that. You know what I'm saying? And that'll be our way. You know, I can just see it now. You know, I can say, and I said this to the mayor. You know, I was like, man, my dream would be the city of Miami Gardens, the film industry of the state of Florida. You know what I'm saying? I look at those warehouses and all that back over there by the Opa-locka Airport and all that, and that airport becoming, hopefully Mr. Oliver buy the airport back from the county, you know, because think about it, that could be our airport. That's Opa-locka. That should be our airport. That's where that's where the you know, and I'm always think from a business standpoint. Just imagine Opa-locka Airport with Southwest Airlines, JetBlue, Spirit, and the Economy Airlines flying in there, and you don't have to go to Fort Lauderdale. Just think about it. And the shops and the community being built up. Those are the things, you know, for us. I mean, we think out of the box. Think about those things and then attaching yourself to people to be able to do that. And then I sit up there, and again, I'm gonna get with y'all. I sit there, and I'm standing up, and I'm coaching at Miami Edison. Now they let me take over the team, and I'm back and I stand there. I'm just standing there one day, and I'm at the field, and I'm sitting there, and the principal tells me there's 700 kids in the school, and the school holds 3,000 students. And it's only 700 there. It's a classroom. They got one lunch because it's just that less amount of kids. But then I stand up on the football field, a dirt field, no irrigation system, dust flying everywhere, and these kids out there and they're running. And I'm standing. I look this way. I look toward where we're at right now, and I say, "Damn. This is some of the most expensive property in Dade County. This is the epicenter. If you go stand out to Miami Edison right now and look, you will look from I-95 to 3rd, and that is so much real estate. That is so much real estate Dade County School Board owns. There's nothing on it. So if we sitting here now, we're thinking, okay, where do we make our money? How do we get back up? How do we get in the game? Those are the things that we don't need nobody to give us nothing. Well, we pay for it anyway. Because when you pay your taxes, you own schools. You look at that piece of property, going all the way over here now, if you blink, somebody's going to take that property, and before you know it, it's going to be condos. Again, going back to what I told you about Sable Palms. So you connect Sable Palms, Little Haiti with this, then that'll be another Wynwood over there. And where we're sitting there right now, get squeezed in. It'll get squeezed in, and a little Russian guy be knocking on the door, buy your house for $500,000. And then you end up moving and getting a mortgage and that you cannot afford. Somewhere up in Pompano or somewhere, and before you know it, you've lost your land. So I say this to say that I'm, you know, because I was looking at it, I'm like, damn. Just imagine all us in this room here. We come up with $1,000 and we go into the school board and say, hey, look here, school board, we want that property. Now all y'all rich in the room. We want that property, and then why we gonna apply for a bond? We gonna build the condos on that there. We ain't gonna get into the liabilities association. Y'all ain't finna get it. Everybody in this room just got rich, just that quick, on our own. But then again, what we do is we have a tendency to sit back and allow it to happen, and then we griping, damn, they just put this building up. You know what I'm saying? So when you ride by Miami Anderson, you go from 3rd to 7th real quick, and just start thinking from the big picture. You connect this right here to this, what's going on over here, and if we own that, which we should own that, you know, and it don't take that much. Then now we just got millionaires all over South Florida off one piece of property that we own, that we've been owning all our life. Yes.
Peace and love, people named Jeff. And Uncle Luke, salute to you, because, you know, I've been following you since I was a young type, you know, since I was too young to even listen to your music. You know, I'm 36, well, I'm 37. So anyway, you know, I've been following hip hop culture, you know, forever. Yeah, and one thing I noticed that, you know, when it comes to New York, like, basically when you go to New York, you know, it's like you don't leave there without knowing, you know, who the trailblazers was that came out of New York. Same thing with LA. I mean, it's like you won't leave LA without knowing who Lonzo and Uncle Jam Army and all that. But when it comes down to Florida and Miami in particular, like I noticed that, you know, a lot of people drop the ball. You know, especially the out of towners that just coming up in here and infiltrate the city and the culture all together. So I'm curious to know, like, what's your thoughts on the legacy preservation on the hip hop culture? I mean, you know, coming from one of the trailblazers like yourself that, you know, they put in the work. Like, I mean, because, you know, when people come here, you know, they don't have no idea on who's Disco Rick, or who's Society, who's Bust Down, even though he's from Louisiana, but he made his mark here in Miami. Right. And JT Money and Verb and all them. So, you know, so what's your take on, the DJ Raws and the Hood Stop? So I'm curious, like, what's your take on the legacy preservation or the lack of legacy preservation?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. And I think, you know, if you travel to Atlanta, somewhere like that, you travel to New Orleans, you'll hear a lot of regular music, but then you'll hear a lot of New Orleans artists. You know what I'm saying? You'll hear a lot of regular music, you'll hear a lot of Atlanta artists. I don't think the radio stations in Miami do a good job of developing and creating the new artists. I mean, because there's a ton of artists. You know, it's a ton of artists right now down here that's doing it big. You know, I just looked at a video one of the kids just showed me at our program where it was, I guess it's, I don't know if it's a two-step song. I feel like I'm getting old. But then, I mean, the kids packed up a whole auditorium, and these artists you've never heard of rapping, and the kids are singing the songs. I mean, they know the songs as if they're being played on the radio, but they're not being played on the radio. So, you know, that's a problem in a sense. And I always have these debates with them. So it ain't like, you know, they don't know my feelings about it. You need to be playing more South Florida artists. But then at the same time, you need to be able to also, you know, tell the history. You know, when you hear we're playing the back in the day jam, and then it becomes Biggie Small. You know what I'm saying? On the back of the day jam, it's like, no, why it ain't Disco Rick? But why, you know? And so, but then they give us our little mix on Friday, and that's where they play all the old music. but we don't ever fall into the back of the day check classic jam. So some of those things like that, you know, become a problem. You know, but we do get, I just do. You know, I was able to, you know, get the key to the city at Miami Gardens. Woo! You know, from the mayor. So that was, again, you know, that was in recognition of what we've been doing, what I've been doing, and the people that I've helped. And I get to stand on that platform and say, hey, look, you know, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody, because I always look at, it's not about me, it's about this community. It's a we thing, because I always felt like I was representing South Florida, Miami first, and then Florida second. So when I left and did a concert in Savannah, and they said, you know, Run DMC and all of them said, y'all want hip hop, you know, and you got 2 minutes on the stage, and I started fighting in the back room with the manager and all that. I was representing Miami. You know what I'm saying? So at the same time, yeah, you know, it is somewhat frustrating, you know, and you know, but again, you know, things happen in due time. You know, like I would have never thought BET would give me a call and say, hey man, we're gonna honor you, you know, and let the world, you know, after you know, went to the Supreme Court, you started the first, you create parental advisory, you're doing this, you know, you got these platinum artists and all this different stuff like, I mean, you're creating from nothing. You would think that would happen a long time ago, but it happens. In due time, it happens. They give us our respect. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have to say something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't want to. I just need to say something real quick. I just want to thank you. I have to come up so you can see me. I don't know if you remember me, but when I was little, I take this wig off and this glasses off and this makeup, you know who I am.
Oh.
But when I was young, I wanted to dance for you. And you would run me off. You wouldn't allow me to.
I'm sorry.
It was so bad. No, it was so bad till you actually came to my parents' house. And you was like, you got both parents and you live like this, and what you gonna dance for me for? Why don't you go to school and go to college? And I was like, it looked fun. But to make a long story short, I ended up going to college and I had 2 master's degrees. I ended up getting married, 26 years, 7 children. My daughter just opened up her own pharmacy. Owner, fashion designer, and you know his rejection saved my life. So you know, good did come out of it for me.
Thank you. That's good. That's good. Those are the stories you want to hear. No doubt. Yeah. Oh, okay, great.
I am a publicist.
Okay.
I travel around the country. So,
Okay.
just wanted to let you know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We have some questions here. Hi, Uncle Luke. So, my name is Aida, and I'm from Miami. I went to Norland and University of Florida.
Go Gators.
Go Gators, go Vikings. I have a degree in broadcast journalism, and after graduating from college, I moved back to Miami, and I worked in the music industry for Po' Boy for about 10 years. And then I moved to Atlanta because I wanted to pursue my career in television production, which is what I got my degree in. And it was amazing because, like you said, there's a lot of black people up there. Things are really booming. And I got an opportunity to work on Ride Along 2, and part of the movie we shot here in Miami. So I was able to come home and work here in Miami and on the movie, and I was in heaven because I felt like I'm home and I'm doing what I love to do. But then, of course, when the movie wrapped, we went back to Atlanta, and I ended up moving back here because I got homesick. I miss my family, I miss Miami, I couldn't find Haitian food, so I wanted some Creole legume, I moved back home. So my question for you is, I know you discussed tax credits, which is a big reason why Atlanta has so much business, but what else can we do besides waiting for these tax credits to allow black writers, black producers, black actresses to get work here in Miami, because we know that most of the stuff that comes here is for looking for Hispanic talent. And my second question is, can I send you my resume for this movie you got coming up in September?
Yeah, yeah, you can, yeah. But it's a great story because it's just like I was saying before. You know, what normally happens is, you know, people like yourself, they gotta find work and you know, and broaden your rise and pursue your career. You have to then go to these different areas where you prefer staying here. But unfortunately, you know, with the situation, a lot of things are not being shot here, you know, because we don't get the tax credits. I think we could do two things at one time. We can push the envelope. We can talk to our politicians, our elected officials, and say this is something that we want to do. You know, and we start from the educational standpoint of it all, whether it's in the schools and attach ourselves in that way. And then at the same time, when we're looking at these unions, you know, unions are giving out union cards, and just like, if you know anything about the movie industry or the TV industry, if you're not union, it's very difficult whether to get in, whether you're a barber or whether you're just a gaffer or a grip. You know, it's difficult to get that union card. So I would say we would need to put a little more pressure on the unions to give more cards out to African Americans in the community, because at the same time, it's the same union that some of our parents or some of our family members or some of y'all might be in. I mean, FLCIO, you know, is one of the major unions that control the movie industry, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to go to those union presidents and say, look, you know, we need to identify more African American talent to be able to, you know, as far as not talent, but these artists, these gaffers, these grips, these film makers, and give them their union cards. I mean, a hairstylist on a movie set could sit there and do one hair job and make $10,000. One day, in a day, you know, on the movie set. So, I mean, if we could do some of those things like that, but at the same time, we do need to create a community of us and say, look, you know, we noticed the new trend. The music industry is difficult right now, and it's not as lucrative as it was before, but when you look at TV, when you look at Netflix giving so many millions and millions of dollars away, and they're looking for content, Hulu and Yahoo, that's the new wave, and the beautiful part about it, I mean, everybody want to be in Miami, and Miami is the beauty capital of the world. I mean, you want to shoot here. It's less to shoot here than it is to shoot anywhere else. So we still do need to stand on that and say, look, you know, create a community and say, look, this is what we want to do. We want to educate and inspire other young people, but at the same time, we want to push the unions to give out more SAG cards to people who want to work. And then we need to be able to own that. We need to be the one to push the envelope to the government, to our elected officials, and say, we want that tax credit for us. We want to own that. And if we own that, then at the end of the day, when the business come down here, when Fox has to shoot a movie, Lionsgate has to shoot a movie down here, they got to come through us. You know what I'm saying? We need to be about that. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes we get in power and we say we for everybody. You know, we're for everybody.
No.
You know, I'm not the black person. I'm not the black boss. I'm boss for everybody. No, fuck that. I'm the black boss. I'm not for that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm the black boss.
Right.
And I'm gonna look out for black people first, and then it'll be a couple of y'all. You know what I'm saying? And so don't go and lobby and fight, and then we own the movie industry rights and all that, and we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna look out for everybody. No, fuck that. We're looking out for us. We're looking out for us. We'll put some of y'all to work. You know, we're gonna be all right. But you know, when you ride by a construction site downtown, you don't see none of us. They're arrogant about it. You know what I'm saying? You ride, you go see a building being put up, a school or whatever it may be, condo. You know, you sit out there when they go on the break. Ain't nobody look like us. I had to sit there and wait for all the guys to walk by me and go into the parking lot where all them parked at. I'm like, man, I'm crazy. Again, crazy artist. I sit there at the light and pull to the side. Let me see how many black people come on this job here. They go into the parking lot. And they arrogant about it. So when they get the job, it ain't like, I'm just not the Cuban boss. I'm the boss for everybody. You know, on this job right here, I'm gonna look for, no. You know, and you know, no disrespect to no race of people. We just need to be a little more arrogant about it, and we'll get our piece.
Amen. Everyone, because his manager's letting me know that he is waiting. I want to thank everyone. Please help me give a round of applause to Luther Campbell, affectionately known as Uncle Luke. Today, he's taught us so much. I hope you take some of these lessons. You're going to take them back to your community. I see Mayor Gilbert in the audience, so we're going to stalk him about these laws that can help the artists and the legislature that can make some of these artists prosper. So we're gonna take that back home with us. But thank you so much for supporting Conversations With. I want to thank our sponsor, St. Paul Funeral Home, Little Haiti Cultural Complex, City of Miami. But I really want to thank Mr. Campbell, Uncle Luke, for coming here, because lots of times people associate this space with only the Haitian community. But we support you. We used to drop it like it's hot. We used to just like everybody else, and we are profiting from your hard work as well. So welcome home, and thank you so much.